Welcome to the Just Nuki It podcast. Buckle up, everyone, because this week we're launching a full-on apocalyptic probe into two chilling flash fiction stories that explore, well, how tough we humans are when facing the end of the world. Think blockbuster action, but for your ears.
Yeah, two stories, two totally different takes on the apocalypse and how we might react. One throws you right into the thick of it, danger, survival, the whole bit. The other, well, it gets a little more mind-bending, messing with time itself, you know.
Absolutely. So, first up, let's dive into Flicker of Dawn. Picture this. The atmosphere, poof, gone. Just like that. What's left? Perpetual night, acid rain, and these creepy things called mutated predators.
Brutal, right?
Yeah, not exactly a walk in the park. The author really uses the environment itself as like the enemy. Take the skeletal lightning that's not just weather, it's like the world is decaying and its bones are sparking. Sets the scene for a pretty desperate fight for survival. And that's where Kyra comes in. Our mission, listeners, is to follow this young scavenger as she chases down a rumor, a legend even, about a beacon, a tower that's somehow still shining a light in all that darkness. Now, we know you guys love those aha moments, and this story, packed with them, especially as we figure out what this symbol of hope really is. What was your first impression, by the way, of this whole one light in the darkness thing?
At first, it's like classic, right? Light equals hope, safety, maybe even a sign of something better out there. But the story flips that on its head pretty quickly, doesn't it? It makes you think, how much is hope really worth in a situation this extreme?
Exactly. So we're going to track Kyra as she treks across this wasteland charred, dangerous, the whole deal. Think about what she's up against. Mutated beasts, killer storms, and just the constant struggle to find food, water, anything to keep going. How do you even start to find the will to keep moving when everything's telling you to give up?
It's like the author stripped humanity down to its core. Kyra's journey is about that pure will to not just survive, but to find a reason, any reason, to keep going. And her scars, her reliance on stolen knowledge that tells us a lot about what it takes to make it in this world.
And then finally, she reaches the beacon, and it's not what you'd expect. Dusty machines, flickering consoles, and this old guy basically holding a dying generator together.
Yeah.
The last defense against the darkness. It's kind of let down, right? All that for something so fragile. What'd you think of that contrast?
It's fascinating, right? You have this grand idea of hope, the beacon, and then the reality is this rundown, almost pathetic setup. I think it shows us something important. Even symbols of hope are vulnerable, and they need constant work to keep them going. The old man, he's like part of the machine himself. That's how desperate the fight against the darkness is.
And just when you think it can't get any worse, we meet the cultists. Basically, twisted folks who see the beacon's light not as hope, but as something to control, to use for their own messed up goals. What do you think drives these guys? What could they possibly want with the last light in the world?
It's dark, but maybe it makes sense. They're not just trying to survive, they want power. The light becomes a weapon, a way to rule over others in the darkness. It makes you wonder, does scarcity always lead to this kind of brutal power struggle?
So the climax of the story hinges on Kyra, right? And she does something totally unexpected, armed with scavenged tech, bits and pieces she's found along the way. She goes up against these overwhelming odds. What does that tell us about her, about what humans are capable of when pushed to the limit?
It's a reminder that even when everything's falling apart, we can still find incredible strength to protect something beyond ourselves. Kyra using that scavenged tech. That's pure human adaptability. It's not about having the best weapons. It's about using your brain, being resourceful, having that sheer will to survive and protect what little hope is left.
And the ending, well, it doesn't exactly tie everything up in a neat little bow. They win, kind of, but the world is still broken. So what does that fragile light from the beacon really mean? What's left to rebuild? What does survival even look like in a world like that?
It's an open ending, and that's what makes it stick with you. The light represents that will to keep fighting, even when the odds are stacked against you. It's not about restoring what was lost. It's about finding a way forward. It makes you think about what it truly means to survive, not just physically, but as a society, as a species.
So that was a plunge into darkness, right? Survival against the odds. Now let's switch gears completely for our second apocalyptic probe, the last rewrite. This one takes us to a different kind of apocalypse. Imagine a threat that could unravel reality itself. Pretty mind-bending, huh?
Yeah, totally different vibe. We're not talking about immediate danger here. It's about the very fabric of existence coming undone. And the fact that we don't know what this cataclysm is, that makes it even scarier. It taps into that fear of the unknown, something beyond our understanding.
And at the center of this story is Dr. Asha Rao, a scientist who's built something pretty controversial, a quantum device. It can send people back in time, The goal, rewrite history, prevent the apocalypse. Now, we talk a lot about different perspectives on this show and this story. It's full of them. Ethically, messing with the past to save the future is a minefield. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, where do I even begin? Unintended consequences, for one. Changing the past, even a little, could have huge ripple effects in the future. Then there's the question of who gets to decide for everyone else. And even more fundamentally, what does it even mean to save the future by changing the past? Does that future even belong to the people living in it?
We also meet Asha's team. Finn, the classic volatile genius, Kovacs, the soldier who actually thinks about the big questions, and Jaya, Asha's sister, who ends up being the face of this whole crazy mission. What's motivating each of them? What are they afraid of as they get ready to take this huge gamble?
They're like different sides of the same coin, reacting to this crisis in their own way. Finn, the genius, he's probably driven by the challenge, the chance to solve the impossible. But I bet he's also terrified of what he's created, the potential for it to go wrong. Kovacs, the soldier, he's carrying the weight of the potential costs, the unintended consequences. He's probably wrestling with the morality of it all. And Jaya, she's the public figure, the symbol of hope, but she didn't ask for any of this. She's probably scared of failing, of the pressure of being humanity's last chance.
And then we get to their first attempt, the first shift. And it goes wrong.
Yeah.
Badly. The world lurches, the machine screams, and Jaya, she almost unravels completely. What does that tell us about how dangerous this technology is, about the limits of what they're trying to do?
Yeah, that first shift is a reality check. It shows them and us that this isn't a simple fix. Time travel. It's not a walk in the park. Jaya almost disintegrating. That shows how fragile reality is, how risky this whole thing is. You mess with time, you pay the price.
But they do manage to create a new reality. It's slightly different, but the apocalypse hasn't happened yet. They're stuck in this new timeline, fractured, haunted by the past. How do they even begin to navigate this new world, knowing that every little thing they do could have massive consequences?
They're walking on eggshells, basically. They know what's supposed to happen, but they can't tell anyone. And the fear of creating a paradox, of accidentally triggering the original disaster, that must be a constant weight on their shoulders. Every move has to be subtle, like nudging history in the right direction. One wrong step could unravel everything.
So we hear about these little things they try to do, leave subtle warnings, plant key knowledge, make tiny changes to steer humanity away from disaster. What kind of actions could they be taking? And what are some of the ways those actions could go wrong?
It's like trying to whisper to the past, hoping someone will listen. Maybe they leave coded messages in old ruins or subtly influence scientific discoveries. But time is unpredictable. Maybe a warning gets misinterpreted. Maybe an early scientific breakthrough leads down a dangerous path. It shows that even the smallest changes can have huge unintended consequences.
And as they keep going, they start making sacrifices. Team members are lost, and Jaya. She keeps fading, a constant reminder of the cost of messing with time. Ethically, that's a tough one. They're trying to save humanity, but at what cost?
It raises some really tough questions. Can you sacrifice individuals, even if they agree to it, to save billions? Jaya fading away. That's the personal cost of time travel. It makes you think, can the ends justify the means? And who gets to make that decision?
The ending is bittersweet. They succeed, they save the future, but no one remembers them or what they did. What does it mean to be a hero when no one remembers the threat, let alone the people who stopped it? It makes you think about heroism, about memory, about what truly matters.
It's a powerful statement about what it means to be a hero. They win, but silently. Their sacrifice is erased from history. Maybe true heroism isn't about recognition or glory. It's about doing the right thing, even if no one knows about it. Maybe saving the world is its own reward, even if no one remembers who you are.
So we've covered two very different apocalyptic stories, two very different takes on what it means to survive, to fight, to hope. What were the big takeaways for you? In Flicker of Dawn, we saw this incredibly raw fight for survival, for a tiny glimmer of hope in a world of darkness. What surprised you most about Kyra and the beacon?
I was struck by how resilient Kyra was. She wasn't some superpowered hero, just an ordinary person fighting to survive. And the beacon. It was a reminder that hope is fragile, it needs constant work, and sometimes even the smallest light can make a difference.
And on the last rewrite, we really got into the ethics of time travel, of changing the past to save the future. What are your thoughts on the team's choices? On the bittersweet victory they achieved?
That story made me think about the immense responsibility that comes with messing with time. You can have the best intentions, but there's always the risk of unintended consequences. The team's sacrifice, their erasure from history, That's a powerful reminder that some choices come with a heavy price.
Both stories, in their own way, show us how resilient humans can be, what we're capable of when facing the end of the world. We hope this apocalyptic probe gave you some things to think about, some new perspectives on what it means to survive, to hope, to be human.
Absolutely. Two different apocalypses, but at the core, they're both about that human drive to survive, to find a way forward, even when everything seems lost.
This has been the Just Nuke It podcast. Tune in next week for another dive into the wild world of flash fiction. Don't forget to rate and follow the show for more captivating stories from the Just Nuke It podcast.